This is Apollo Saturn Launch Control. We're at T-minus 2 hours, 55 seconds and counting. We're approaching the 2-hour mark in our countdown, and we appear to be proceeding satisfactorily at this time. The crew aboard the spacecraft, the 320-foot level. The hatch is closed, and we're beginning to purge the cabin to bring it to the proper atmosphere for launch, which is a combination of oxygen and nitrogen, 60% oxygen and 40% nitrogen atmosphere. Of course, the astronauts themselves are breathing pure oxygen through their spacesuits. Coming up shortly will be another key test in which both the launch crew for the launch vehicle crew and the spacecraft team combine together with the commander, Neil Armstrong, to make a thorough check of the emergency detection system. This is the system that will signal the astronauts in the cabin if anything goes wrong below them. We use the ground-based computer to accomplish this test. It's rather lengthy as these tests go using a computer. It will take some 30 minutes. Neil Armstrong will be doing most of the work in the spacecraft, responding as different cue lights signifying different difficulties are presented to him. The abort panel, of course, is across from the commander on the left-hand side, the left front of the spacecraft. Our countdown continuing, T-minus 1 hour, 59 minutes, 34 seconds, and counting. This is Kennedy Launch Control. This is Apollo Saturn Launch Control, T-minus 1 hour, 50 minutes, 55 seconds, and counting. We're proceeding with the countdown for the Apollo 11 mission at this time, and it's going satisfactorily. At this point, the spacecraft commander, Neil Armstrong, in the process of working the emergency detection system test. This is a check of the emergency detection system, working with the launch crew here in the firing room, and also the spacecraft team in control rooms back at the Manned Spacecraft Operations building here at the Kennedy Space Center. All going well with these tests at the present time. We're flowing hydrogen back into the third stage of the Saturn V launch vehicle after having difficulty with that leaking valve. It appears that we are bypassing the use of the valve directly in loading the hydrogen aboard, but we are getting the hydrogen back in to replenish the supply. All appears to be going well at this time. Weather is go. We're coming up on 1 hour and 50 minutes. This is Kennedy Launch Control. This is Apollo Saturn Launch Control, T-minus 1 hour, 40 minutes, 55 seconds, and counting. The countdown is still proceeding very satisfactory at this time as we lead up toward our planned liftoff time of 9:32 a.m. Eastern Daylight. The spacecraft commander, Neil Armstrong, continuing this extensive series of checks of the emergency detection system, working with both the launch vehicle test crew and the spacecraft crew. This is a key test and a very thorough test to assure ourselves before we commit to liftoff that all the emergency detection techniques inside the launch vehicle are operating properly here on the ground, so if required in flight, the spacecraft commander and, of course, his two fellow astronauts could be signaled of a difficulty inside the rocket and could take proper abort action as required. Thus far, the three astronauts aboard the spacecraft have just been giving business-like responses back to the directions and checks, working with the spacecraft conductor, Skip Chauvin, as he runs down his procedures as the countdown continues. For T-minus 1 hour, 39 minutes, 46 seconds and counting. This is Launch Control. Yes, I do. This is Apollo Saturn Launch Control, T-minus 1 hour, 30 minutes, 55 seconds, and counting. All elements are go with the countdown at this time. The countdown aimed toward landing 2 astronauts on the moon. At this time, the spacecraft test conductor, Skip Chauvin, going through some checks with astronaut Mike Collins aboard the spacecraft. We're winding up this important emergency detection system test that Neil Armstrong has been participating in. Meanwhile, at the 320-foot level, the closeout crew now placing the boost protective cover over the hatch now that we have completed the cabin purge and have the proper environment inside the cabin. We have also performed leak checks to assure ourselves that the cabin atmosphere is valid. This boost protective cover is used during the early phases of the powered flight and is jettisoned with the escape tower shortly after second stage ignition. Here in the firing room, the launch vehicle test team still keeping a close eye on the status of the propellants aboard the Saturn V launch vehicle. We're back to 100% supply with the liquid hydrogen fuel in the third stage. This problem with the leaking valve is no problem at this time. We've actually bypassed the valve, but we are maintaining our hydrogen supply aboard the vehicle. All aspects go. The weather is very satisfactory for launch this morning. A thin cloud cover about 15,000 feet. Temperature at launch time expected to be about 85 degrees. T-minus 1 hour, 29 minutes, 30 seconds, and counting. This is Kennedy Launch Control. This is Apollo Saturn Launch Control. T-minus 1 hour, 20 minutes, 55 seconds, and counting. All still go with the countdown for Apollo 11 at this time. At this point in the countdown, spacecraft commander Neil Armstrong once again appears to be the busiest worker in the spacecraft as he's performing a series of alignment checks associated with the guidance system in the spacecraft. He's working these checks with the spacecraft test conductor as the spacecraft test conductor reads off the various procedures and Armstrong responds to them. The astronauts aboard the spacecraft also were informed by the spacecraft conductor a short while ago that the launch vehicle is go at this time. The hydrogen problem that we did encounter earlier has been solved. That's real good news, said Armstrong, and then he went back to work shortly thereafter. We're now coming up on the 1 hour, 20-minute mark in the countdown. This is Kennedy Launch Control. This is Apollo Saturn Launch Control. T-minus 1 hour, 11 minutes, 55 seconds, and counting. The countdown for Apollo 11 still going very satisfactorily at this time. In most cases, we're a matter of 5 or 10 minutes ahead of the countdown procedures. The crew in the White Room at the 320-foot level who have been aiding the astronauts up to this time are just in the process of finishing up their work. They've been advised by the spacecraft test conductor that they'll probably be able to move out in about 3 minutes or so. Once this is accomplished, once the closeout crew does depart, we'll be ready to move that swing arm back, swing arm 9. It will be moved 12 degrees away from the spacecraft hatch. This is about 5 feet away from the hatch. Once this is accomplished, we will arm the pyrotechnic systems in the spacecraft so in the event of a possible catastrophic condition below them with the launch vehicle, while still on the pad, the astronauts could fire that escape rocket and separate from the rocket in difficulty. The crew, closeout crew, about to depart at this time. That swing arm remains about 12 degrees away from the spacecraft hatch, as mentioned, 5 feet or so, until the 5-minute mark in the count when it's fully retracted to its fallback position. The obvious reason here is in the event we do have to get the astronauts out in a hurry, the swing arm is in a standby position and can be moved rapidly back to the hatch level so the astronauts could depart in the event of an emergency. We're coming up on T-minus 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 20 seconds. This is Kennedy Launch Control. This is Apollo Launch Control at 1 hour, 7 minutes, 25 seconds, and counting. Countdown still proceeding satisfactorily. For those People who would like to synchronize their watches in relation to the count will synchronize on 26 minutes past the hour, which is now about 65 seconds away. We'll count down the last 5 seconds to 26 minutes past the hour. We're now 1 minute away from 26 minutes past the hour. In the meantime, we do have information from the civil defense agencies in the area. The estimate is more than 1 million persons are in the immediate area in Brevard County to watch the launch. Now 40 seconds away from 26 minutes past the hour. Civil Defense Agency reports further that there is extensive heavy traffic, a number of traffic jams, particularly in the area of Titusville, near US 1 and Route 50. Countdown still progressing satisfactorily, 15 seconds away from 26 minutes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. 8:26 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We're now 1 hour, 5 minutes, 55 seconds and counting as it was announced at that point. This is Kennedy Launch Control. That's right. This is Apollo Saturn Launch Control, T-minus 61 minutes and counting. T-minus 61 minutes on the Apollo 11 countdown, and all elements are go at this time. Astronaut Neil Armstrong has just completed a series of checks on that big service propulsion system engine that sits below him in the stack. We want to assure ourselves before liftoff that that engine can respond to commands from inside the spacecraft. As Neil Armstrong moved his rotational hand controller, we assured ourselves that the engine did respond by swiveling or gimbaling. This, of course, is important for maneuvers in space. The countdown is still proceeding very satisfactorily, other than two minor problems. Since we picked up the count at 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time last night, all has gone well. As we approach the 1 hour mark now in the count, a series of radio frequency and telemetry checks will be in progress with the launch vehicle. We'll also check out the tracking beacons in the instrument unit that travels as a guidance system for the Saturn V during the powered phase of flight. Now 59 minutes, 48 seconds and counting. This is Kennedy Launch Control.